Hey everyone, we're launching in here to a MSEM league. We're kind of at the end of the month here, so the leagues aren't firing quite as much, but we saw some players duking it out for those final points. We've got Tosiferous here against Hervor. Let me check real quick what kind of matches they are on. Hervor, she is on... looks to be... oh my gosh, I'm actually not 100% sure. We're going to find out. We've got Senato, we've got Blizzard Dragon. Chrismite Vaults are interesting to see. And let me check out what Toast is rocking over here. Toast is... my gosh. They are on... oh, it seems like they're on Godwatcher. So that's going to be... Podwatcher. So I'm going to show you that soon. It's humans, and it does some really cool stuff. So we're just going to launch right in. I'm going to mouse over a few cards so that you can get up to speed. So I know Toast's deck a little better, so we're going to start with that one. It is a human, essentially, typal deck. So you run out a lot of humans, and what you do is you essentially tutor up using... there we go, a card like Selective Breeding. And you're going to be able to find a card called Godwatcher, which then allows you to find any creature in your deck. And with a simple sack outlet, one of the creatures you can get is Dark Behemoth, which when it dies, brings back another target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, if you have a Dark Behemoth on the board, and a Dark Behemoth in your graveyard, and you have a sacrifice outlet, that's just game if your opponent can't react to that. So something to keep in mind. It can be a little backbreaking, and what's nice about playing a lot of humans is a lot of our mana dorks in the format are human, so you're able to do this a lot quicker than you might realize. And then you've got cards like Anran's Radical that also allow you to tutor up the cards that you need, either big cards or cards that cost X, which, well, wouldn't you know it, cards like Selective Breeding also do it. So I always call this the Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It's the one that has the most sort of like tutor chains, and it's very combo-rific. It's also, because it's all humans, it also feels very much like a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype. So I like it a lot. As a design, I know it's can be very frustrating for some people to play against. We've also got Henry River City's Mayor here. Card actually brought in from our sister format, Revolution, which is over on a different Discord. They have a more of a standard format, but we had a cool event a while back where we got a lot of their legends added to one of our bonus sheets. So this is just a great creature for, forcing non-creature spells to cost more, and it, Henry hits pretty hard as a 4/3 Vigilance that can't be countered for 3. So we're seeing Hierarch Ranger, Manasthetic kind of popping off here. They're casting mana, and Selective Breeding went and popped Anran's Radical. So we're going to go tutor there. Meanwhile, let's look up at Hervor and see what she's doing. You might have noticed that she threw out an Imperial Siege. If you caught our last Grand Prix video, you would have seen it played there. Players are on a lot of pretty greedy mana bases. There's like 3 color and more. So being able to just throw a 2-mana Stone Rain at a card like Humble Abode, as I believe what got removed, really puts them back a bit. So we went and fetched out an Ascended Explorer. So Ascended Explorer enters, you bring back a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So by selectively breeding Anran's Radical and getting Ascended Explorer, you then bring back Anran's Radical, you then discard a card, so in this case Dark Behemoth, which you want in the graveyard, may I remind you, to go and get back Selective Breeding. So, as I said, it's very comborific. What that means is then Selective Breeding is going to be able to get those missing pieces with the Dark Behemoth in the yard like we want to. Hervor is holding up an out-of-body experiences removal. I would say the current issue is not having access to that color, but Ocean Monastery is in hand. So we'll see how that goes. Got some pretty interesting discussion down here in the chat. Senato alone could come out as of next turn, which has a few options. Tapping a permanent could be interesting, especially when the opponent's at 2. I'd like to think that between Imperial Siege, Senato, and Blizzard Dragon. This is kind of just playing like a very Stone Rain deck. The fact that you're able to lock down the opponent's lands and they have to sack tap permanents. Yeah, that could be it. Chrismite Vault is actually quite funny. It's an interesting land. The fact that it's legendary means if you play a second copy, one of the originals will pop. But when they do, you're going to get a Mox. So you're going to get Mox Chrismite, which is just a multicolored Mox that enters tapped. So, we'll see here. They're kind of joking around with the fact that a little bit of combo stuff going around. So Toast is thinking. They've got quite a few lines. I really applaud people who do play this deck because it is definitely complicated and it's easy to probably get wrong. So we're tapping Humble Abode here. Oh, or not. That could have been another selective breeding here. Gotta say, love the art on selective breeding. The fact that we have little flappy bunnies is just adorable. I do like the re-art that I made for it, but it's just not the same. I think this one is fantastic. A little bit of decision making going on here. So while that happens, oh, here we go again. So Humble Abode. And then selective breeding. I'm assuming they had a mana floating. Let me ask. Hold up. Alright. Cool. Okay, so yeah, they did use Mana Aesthetic. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. A little bit of confusion there. So, there's the card itself, Podwatcher. So when it enters the battlefield, you search any player's library for a creature card, exile it, then they shuffle. When Podwatcher dies, you get the exiled card onto the battlefield under your control. This is a very contentious card. The fact that it gets anything, their deck, your deck, is quite good. We'll see what happens. Out of Body is a good answer to it because it has to die. So it's not without answers. And the fact that it was exiled actually means that that Dark Behemoth is also exiled, and most of these decks only run the 2. So it is possible that that's the last we see of a Dark Behemoth for a bit. Did give them a blue 1/1 flying elemental. And of course, they still have the 2/1s. They've got Hierarch Ranger with Encourage. Henry, River City's mayor, is going to come out. So there is definitely a chance that the backup plan is just to, beat face. The deck definitely has the ability to do other things than just win through the combo. But the fact that it has that combo plus this package just really makes it really solid. So casting Henry here, no answer. And the fact that it hits non-creatures is kind of rough on Senedo, especially because the Chrismite Vault isn't actually going to be able to land. So on combat, we're going to swing in for 4 here. Yeah, so there we go. And starting next turn, Henry's going to start clocking in pretty hard, depending on what we draw here on her verse turn. Okay, well, she drew a land that can be used, so that makes things a little different. Oh, okay. Alright, went with the Mox Chrismite play this turn. Hold up, I think she just saw the... Yeah. Can't cast Senedo. Magmatic Torrent could have gotten there with the 4th mana. Could have made a difference by keeping stuff down. We'll see what happens here. So Hierarch Ranger, we didn't get a chance to talk much about it. It's a really nice mana dork, and the fact that you can use its Encourage ability to give creatures +1/+1, and that lets it tap for 1 mana of any color, makes it pretty good. You do need another creature to do that, though, so it's not like Mana Static that can just always do it, but the fact that it's giving a power boost is a big difference. So, clocking in again for a big 4, plus the extra 4 from Henry with Vigilance. Alright, here we go. Drew a Lost Through Dreams, by the way. A nice counterspell using the playlist promo art here from the Secret Lair. Alright, so here we go. Blizzard Dragon. Not a card that we actually see too often, so it's nice to see it. Again, it's a 4/3 flying that when it attacks, you tap an artifact, you tap a creature, and a land the defending player controls that they don't untap during their next untap step. And at the beginning of the opponent's upkeep, they have to sacrifice a tap permanent. So, of course, you'll move to untap and upkeep, so normally you won't have anything, but if you're able to keep things tapped down, either through Senato, Blizzard Dragons, things can be pretty decent. Problem is... Okay, yeah, Hervor's just reminding that there's no sacrifice until Blizzard does its thing. The board here is pretty good, and with a Kalan the Puppeteer, won't have a target. Still a 2/3 Vigilance, so, you know, bodies and bodies. As Hervor says, Blizzard Dragon's not good. It's cute. It's nice to see some cards that don't see a lot of play. I don't know. I mean, it is not super good, but it's not nothing. Hierarch is going to go and encourage, I assume, the Flyers. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to send those cards in. And that should be it for this game. Because even blocking the 4, you're taking 4. We'll see if we get the scoop here and moving on to game 2. Alright, GG. There we go. So our players are going to move into sideboards. Now, one of the issues with League is we don't actually have access to players' sideboards, which is totally reasonable. I'm glad that players aren't able to share the sideboard. That could cause issues. So instead, we might just scroll back up, see if there's any cards that I didn't really get a chance to show off. Coveted Tower had been drawn. One of these bolt lands that lets you either have a regular tri-land, or if you are really desperate, you can pay 3 life and you can get them untapped. And a lot of players have been playing them, which again makes cards like Imperial Siege a little more effective. I think there was a slight misplay on the Senato turn using the Chrismite Vault, but at the same time, the game was already pretty much clean there. But you never know. A Senato 1 turn early could have made a difference. 1 tap here, 1 tap there, but the board was just accelerating. So one of the nice things about that deck, it doesn't have to win with a combo. If it does, that's really great. But at the same time, it can just deal some serious damage. And the fact that it has these hate bears already in is a big difference. So we're at the start of game 2. Let's see what the hands look like. Let's start up here with Hervor, see what she's packing. We've got Pools of Lights, Chrismite Vault. Don't have the red for Anarchy Storm without Ocean Monastery picking something up, which I'm assuming is what we're likely to see eventually. So Anarchy Storm is destroy target non-basic land for 3, but it has Abound, which lets you then cast a spell that costs 2 or less from your hand. So sometimes you can Anarchy Storm into an Imperial Siege. So very interesting deck here. The fact that Toast is able to run out mana dorks means even if they lose all their lands, they might still have something lying around, depending. Interesting card here is Shikai's Readout. It is a cheap land to include, and you can simply pitch it to exile 2 target cards from graveyards. So it's a 0-cost spell that can't be countered, so in a pinch, it's exactly what you need against this sort of combo that Toast is running. But at the same time, you can always just drop it as a land if you're really desperate and need that mana. So, pretty interesting card. You shouldn't count it as a land. You should definitely count it as a spell, because that's the part that you use more often. So, Ocean Monastery is here now. Could be able to get out-of-body experience if Hervor thinks that she really needs to use that removal. And then next turn we can already start popping off Anarchy Storms. And it'll be even stronger if we're able to draw like an Imperial Siege or something else. Of course, you can get the out-of-body experience off of an Anarchy Storm, but sometimes, you know, you want to do a little more. Down here we've got Humble Abode, picking humans, and a Secluded Courtyard, also picking humans. So we've already got a Henry River City's Mayor already out on turn 2. That non-creature spell costing 1 more to cast is actually going to make a big difference here for Anarchy Storm. Of course, you could always out-of-body for 1 more, especially if you're drawing a lot of lands here. Could be correct to just clean that up, because, you know, starting from there it's just going to get worse. So we're going to crack the Ocean Monastery, start getting our lands. There's some orders that could matter depending on what the land base is here. So basic is usually the correct one, and then you can usually follow it up with a check land if that's the kind of card you're running. Something like Pools of Light. So here we go. Out-of-body experience, saying, no thank you, get off my board. I would like to not have to pay an extra 1 for every single card in my deck. So... And, of course, the 4 versus the 1 damage is going to be a big difference. The Elemental being an Elemental, not being able to be sacrificed is also big. So there we go. Coveted Tower coming down for 3 life. Running out Miss Margaret Barton, another Hate Bearer. So again, just a sideways plan that you can have in your pocket. Your opponent's running up all these spells, make them pay for it. Miss Margaret Barton is a 1/2 that just says non-creature spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast. But a really nice thing is that when you get to 4 mana, you can flip Miss Margaret Barton over, and he becomes Dr. Gareth Barton, where spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more, and simply spells you cast cost 1 less, and becomes a 3/4. So, pretty cool card. Other 2 ran out in Anran's Radical, and I believe, yeah, we're going to see a Selective Breeding coming up. Very combo-rific. I said that word a lot, but I really mean it. We did draw another out-of-body experience, so it's not, you know, out of the question. And technically, you could pay 4 for Anarchy Storm and then get out-of-body experience. Oh, never mind. I'm saying silly things. Even though you can cast it, it would still cast an extra 1. So no, you could not do that. We'll see what happens here. Interesting. I wonder if... So we're going after the land. But it should cost 1 more, the out-of-body. Okay, Tosa's already on it. Yep, that's a little rough. It's tough, these little things. Little tiny little things. Alright, let's see what's going to happen next. Again, removing the lands can work, but if your opponent's still dropping them land after land and gets their ramp on, Anran's Radical can tap for mana, Mana Ascetic can tap for mana, as it is in the name. And Humble Abode now taps for Human, or Hummin, I guess, as we're going. I'm assuming... Okay. 1, 2, 3... How are you getting green off of these? Hold up. Okay, just reminding them, because it's really important that you've got to tap the lands that tap for green. These aren't gold lands. They are only for the creatures. It makes a big difference if you're tapping those and then keeping this stuff open. So Anyway, so selective breeding. What got sacked here? Did I miss a hierarch being cast? First main, humble abode. Tap. Just gonna. It's important that players, especially if they're doing combo lines, like. It's opponents need to know what they can react to stuff, you know? So selective breeding, cracked Miss Margaret Barton. Podwatcher costs 4. Second selective breeding. Popped Anran's Radical. Got Channeler of the Veil. And then Channeler of the Veil does the Dark Behemoth loop, I believe. Alright. There we go. Bit of a messy end there, but it happens. It's just important that players, you know, take the time. But yeah, there goes that's the combo. That's how that works out. So hopefully that was an interesting match. We hope to see you in a future league match.